Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Middle Management Gamer Plays. This is Diablo 4, and I thought today that I'd do basically a build review on my current character, Josephine. I'm calling her a AutoBomb Lord Commander. So this is my Necro character. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, starting off in Kielbashad here. My guest host is Brownie, as always. Super happy to be here. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts. Basically going to discuss my abilities and Book of the Dead. And then we're going to talk about the current items that I have. And then I'll give you a demonstration of the power. So I want to create this video basically because a lot of people are playing Diablo 4, and I see a lot of people whining and complaining about it, and I see a lot of people posting build videos, and for me, working 50-55 hours a week, it's sometimes hard to farm the necessary stuff to make a good build and to have a in-game viable build. Now, I'm not saying this game's in-game viable right now. I'm level 58 with my character. I'm very happy. She performed very well. But you also have to actually play. It's not one of those builds where you're so uber powered that you just melt through everything. You actually have to steer this ship. So that's kind of what I like about it. And the other thing is pretty much everything that's on this character is easy to procure. I have 1 or 2 things on here that you might have to farm a little bit, but you can tweak it, do whatever you want. So starting off, primary attack is going to be the Reap. This is kind of for aesthetics, but also when you have Reap, Acolyte's Reap, you get a corpse for the first enemy hit every 4 seconds. So basically, when you go into battle, you can attack, get a corpse drop immediately. I put 1 point into Unliving Energy to get a little bit extra essence, but really to unlock Imperfectly Balanced, which makes your core skills cost more essence, but then they deal more damage. This is apparently broke right now. You should be able to put 3 points in here. You can only put 1 currently. My primary damage dealer, the actual combat I control, is Sever. I have 8 ranks in there because I have 3 points on an item on my build, so I have all 5 points in here. And then Enhanced, and then the Supernatural, because I want to deal 2% increased damage for each minion I have when I cast it. And you'll notice I have a lot of minions, so we'll come back to that. Also here we have Huge Flesh. I only put 2 in here because I wanted to save some points, which, there's some wiggle room. You can do different things here if you want, but this increases your lucky hit chance to produce a corpse, and when you're fighting a boss, it's doubled. So you have corpses to use when you're fighting bosses. Super important there. And then Corpse Explosion. Obviously Auto Bomber, so there's going to be Explosion. You gotta have Corpse Explosion, 5 points there. Enhanced Corpse Explosion, increases radius, and then Blighted Corpse Explosion. This is a darkness build. Pretty much all the skills revolve around darkness, so you want to set this one up. It causes the Corpse Explosion to have like a cloud of darkness, dealing damage over time, shadow damage. And then put 2 points in the Skeletal Warrior Mastery, so my skeletons last a little longer. Again, saving 1 of those points there, because I'm going to use it elsewhere. Grim Harvest, 3 there to generate corpse essence. So whenever I consume a corpse, generate 6 essence. So anytime you use Corpse Explosion or you summon another skeleton, you're going to get 6 essence back. So that keeps you able to use your Sever pretty much on demand. And then I put 3 points in the Fueled by Death, and then I got 3 additional ranks in that. So anytime you consume a corpse, you do 18% increased damage for 6 seconds. So basically, as corpses are being consumed, I'm dealing extra damage. You want to deal as much damage as possible. Then I have 2 points in Amplified Damage. So I took those points from elsewhere to put here. and then some points in the Decrepify. I only actually have 1 point in Decrepify, but I've got 4 points from other areas. This slows creatures down. Also has a chance to stun with them because I have Enhanced on here, which allows them to be stunned, and then also has a chance to reduce cooldowns, which is useful for Corpse Tendrils and Bone Storm, which will be my ultimate that I use. And then some points in Skeletal Mage Master if I want to keep my Skeleton Mages alive. Then we come down here, we have Corpse Tendrils. This adds more crowd control. So we're going to have 3 or 4 different crowd controls going on at the same time, which will be useful. So this pulls them in, this stuns them, it actually slows people, and makes them vulnerable. And then increases the range, and this is the vulnerable part here. And then I put a point in Reaper's Pursuit so that I move faster. Not super important really to unlock Gloom, Crippling Darkness, and Terror. Again, you don't really need a point in Crippling Darkness, but the extra stun chance is always helpful. Again, keep those enemies stuck. Crowd control, super important. And then the Gloom, Darkness skills, they take increased damage from shadows and your minions, stacking up to 3 times. So increased damage, everything shadow damage on this build, with the exception of my Bone Storm, but we'll get into that. And then Terror, enemies that are slowed or immobilized take extra damage. Can't argue there. Again, crowd control, extra damage here. Down here we have a point in Inspired Leader. So as long as I'm healthy, my minions gain increased attack speed. Not super important, but can come in handy. Allows me to unlock the Hellbent Commander. So as long as I'm near my minions, again, this is the AutoBomb Lord Commander, so got to be in the battlefield with the minions. They do extra damage while I'm standing near them. And then Death's Defense. My minions cannot lose more than 30% of their maximum life on a single damage instance, because you don't want your minions dropping off the field. The more minions you have, the more damage you're dealing. And then this is, don't necessarily have to have Bone Storm. This was one I added at the end. I'm looking for a particular item which will turn Bone Storm into a shadow damage, which will basically just be a nuke effect, where if I'm fighting a boss or something, I need to do a whole lot of extra damage. Or you're in a timed event and you need to do a whole bunch of extra damage, this would help. You could trade this out for a Golem. That's what I originally had on the build, adding an extra minion. The Golem also allows you to add, just in case you want to do something a little different, you want to add the Golem on there. The Golem adds a, we'll look at that in a second. And then Shadow Blight is your active passive. Key passive, while you're doing this, Shadow Blight damage infects enemies for 2 seconds. Your minions deal 10% bonus damage to enemies. Every 10th time you deal an additional damage, like an explosion of shadow damage on those every 10th time. And then this ties in with some other stuff. Haven't really got into Paragon yet. I've only unlocked the starting of 1 board, but I can tell you which direction I'm going. I did start off with the Glyph Socket here. 25.3% damage to crowd-controlled enemies. That's from the minions and from me, if they're chilled or frozen. I'll tell you how I got the chilled or frozen in just a second. And then, these 2 basic ones right here, extra damage, extra intelligence, etc. and so forth. And the first one that I went with is this board right here. It has Wither on it. Your shadow damage over time will deal 5% chance to deal 50% bonus, and then you can up that by unlocking things. I haven't got this unlocked yet. I'm thinking it's going to boon my character build quite a bit. Alright, so that's my skill tree and my Paragon. Basically, it's just a lot of shadow damage, it's a lot of crowd control, stacking crowd control, adding extra minions to minion damage. Super important. Look at our Book of Dead here. The Book of the Dead, I got Skeleton Warrior set on Skirmisher and Skeleton Mages set on Cold, and I have my Golem sacrificed. So my Skeleton Mages, anyone who is frozen or damaged by while frozen by my Cold Mages will be vulnerable. So extra vulnerable there. I want to keep enemies vulnerable. Alright, and then my Skeleton Warriors are set on Skirmish. So whenever I critically strike, my skirmish warriors will critically strike, so they're just dealing extra critical damage every time I deal critical damage. Critical damage is important to this build. I'll show you later. Alright, and then I have golems sacrificed to deal extra critical strike damage. Alright, so those are my skills. Before I go into the items, let's talk about the skill build that we have here. The skill assignments. So I have summon skeletons obviously on the board. You have to have it there or you can't have your minions.
You've doomed yourself already.
And then we have both of the corpse explosion and corpse tendril on there. I have Decrepify. It is not on my skill list. We'll explain that later. And then my attacks are the Reek to cause that initial corpse, which will drop the corpse tendrils on, which will suck everyone in so we can start blowing stuff up and hitting multiple people with the Sever at once. And then Bone Storm again acts as my nuke. It adds extra damage reduction while I have it active, so it's kind of a little bit of protection if you're starting to feel kind of squishy. This is a squishy build. Don't have a lot of defense, but I put a couple of things in there to help out. And then critical strike chance is increased because you want to deal critical damage. Alright, now let's look at the items we have. Okay. So first off, we have the Bloodgetter Sovereign Helm. Maximum number of skeleton warriors increased by 2, so that brings me up to 6 skeleton warriors. More skeleton followers, more minions, more damage. And then the extra Decrepify there. On here I have imprinted, you heal for 26 life per second with each enemy up close. I'm going to be sucking the enemies up close to me, so I should be constantly healing. We'll come back to this. On here I have the Coldbringer's Archon Gauntlets. So all the items you're looking for darkness damage, damage over time, anything to improve your intelligence, and then certain skill bonuses, Decrepify, Corpse Explosion, Corpse Tendril, etc. so forth. This right here, imprinted every 8 seconds, Cold Skeletal Mages cast a Blizzard. This allows me to continuously chill and add Frozen to the enemies I'm fighting. Since all the enemies are going to be kind of clumped up, this will be hitting a lot of them, keep them frozen, vulnerable, crowd controlled, more damage. See where I'm going here? Alright. Right here I gain 0.30% armor every time I deal damage, plus 18% armor. Need a better version of this. Most of the things that I have on here are the low end of the totem pole on the skill. So basically looking to min-max some of these items will make this build even stronger. Is it in-game viable? I don't know. Is it a lot of fun to play? Yes, that's what we're going for. Fun to play. Alright. So this will keep my armor percent up, which makes me a little less squishy. Since I'll be hitting a lot of enemies all at once, my armor will ramp up real fast, which will keep me alive. The hard part about this is when you're fighting bosses, you can get one shot. So again, this is kind of a glass cannon squishy build, so be careful. I have rubies in here, pretty much all my armor to give me extra maximum life. On the boots, I have maximum skeletal mages, so that brings me up to 5 skeletal mages. Extra blizzard damage, extra cold damage, extra freezing damage. Extra evade charge just to get me out of things. You want to increase your movement speed so you can get out of the way if necessary, and then corpse tendrils. I am using a two-handed sword that gives you higher critical strike damage. Again, critical strike damage is important. You want to one-shot those enemies, get them killed, suck more in, get them killed, suck more in, get them killed. Vulnerable damage, execute non-injured elite, injured non-elites, extra kill damage, can't argue there. Extra core skill damage, Sever is a core skill, so you want to build that up. The imprint on this is important. Shadow Blight key passive deals damage to enemies, increases the next Shadow Blight's damage within 10 seconds by 68. This is a mid-range one here. Not super good, just mid-range. Stacks up to 5 times, and then I have damage over time jewels in here to do extra damage. So this will amplify the Shadow Blight damage, so extra shadow damage to enemies every time I deal Shadow Blight damage. And then on the amulet here, we have critical strikes from Sever. will create a pool of blight underneath, which deals bonus damage. So all those enemies that you suck into that area, you hit with the Sever, you drop pools of blight under them, does extra damage. I'm looking to actually replace this skill with the one that converts Bone Storm into Shadow. Now, I'll probably keep this imprint available. I want to say it's a seasonal drop. I could have gotten it in a cave. I know it's one that you can imprint on your own. So, and then ultimate skill damage on here. This item was basically designed to work with my Bone Storm, but I haven't found that particular legendary skill yet to imprint. So we'll see. It may not make a difference. This actually might be better. Who knows? Again, I don't have a skill calculator. I'm not that big into it. I'm more into having fun, and I hope you'll try my build and have some fun with it too. This has 3 ranks of Fueled by Death. That gives me extra damage every time you absorb a corpse. So that'll be happening a lot. So that's a good skill to have on the item. And then the Wrathful Heart I have on here is when you have at least 2 enemies near you, you automatically curse them with the Crepify. That's why I have so many points in the Crepify, why I don't need it on my skill set. It automatically will be cast pretty much all the time. I only need 2 enemies near me. There's always 2 enemies near you, even when you're in a boss fight, because they're always going to summon somebody, right? So it lasts for up to 15 seconds. Again, that's a mid-grade one. Here we have our Blighted Loop, overpowered damage, stun damage, vulnerable damage, critical strike chance improve. I do 113% increased damage for 6 seconds after Shadow Blight damages 10 times. There's a lot of Shadow Blight damage going on. This will be proccing all the time, so extra damage there. On here, I have a Wrathful Heart, so this one might be a little bit harder to find. My damage over time effects are increased by 41% for each type of crowd control effect on a target. And I'm dropping lots of crowd control effects on targets here. So, also Unstoppable Monsters in Staggered Paralysis take 128% increased damage from time. So this will help me melt some of those bosses I'm going to fight. And the last item we have on here is our Grasping Veins. My Corpse Tendrils, again, this is a weak version, the weakest version. But my Corpse Tendrils will deal extra damage for 6 seconds and extra critical strike damage. And then this is what makes you AutoBomb this Vicious Heart. Walking near a corpse automatically activates any equipped corpse skill every second, dealing 27% reduced damage. So this is a stronger version of this particular Vicious Heart. I have yet to find a 26. That being said, this particular heart drops for the Necromancer probably once every half hour. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to find yourself one. So basically, whenever I'm near a corpse, it'll cause an explosion. It'll absorb the corpse from corpse explosion. It'll cast Corpse Tendrils, which will suck enemies in. And it'll also keep your skeletons active. You don't have to resurrect your skeletons. It'll automatically resurrect one if they die. So that's awesome. So that is what I currently have on here. You look at some of my stats. Nothing super fancy. Up to 26% critical strike chance. Obviously, the higher you get this, the more damage you're going to do. Critical strike damage is 116%. I do extra critical strike damage with Bone Storm on. Overpower chance isn't that high, but it's, whatever. Vulnerable damage is 51.5% extra, and then all damage is added. Pardon my cough. Lucky Hit Execute, 20% of the chance I'll execute people with Lucky Hit. My overall damage is pretty good. I don't really have a lot of stuff in Thorns. And my Lucky Hit chance bonus is 0. So, that could actually improve my skills a little bit. As far as player versus player goes, I do have a couple of ears in my chest from where I did some player versus player battles. I say that this for this particular build. As far as PvP goes, I can deal out a lot of damage to enemies, but it's better if I'm attacked rather than me hunting other people down. Because if they attack me, there's probably already corpses around, which will put me at an advantage. If I attack somebody, I don't really have a lot of corpses to use. So that being said, I've killed people as high as 10 levels ahead over me, and I've killed people below me at a level 90 that just kept hunting me down. I must have killed one of his altars and pissed him off. So that being said, that is what we have going on with the build. I am currently level 58, so my understanding is you subtract 51 from your current level, and that tells you what level nightmare dungeons you should be doing. So that would say level 7, tier 7. This is a tier 9. Monsters have faster attack speed, monsters have poison added, and I increased healing. So let's demonstrate what we got going on here. We'll want to go run this dungeon. It's got a druid skill in here I haven't unlocked. I am playing a druid as one of my altars, so we'll go do that in a second. Let's just run this here dungeon. We'll see how we do. You can see how it goes. Give you an example of how this build plays. Show you the kind of rotation. Again, help if I actually go into the dungeon I just summoned. Alright, so there's my character. Her gloves are smoking from all the exploding she's doing. I do have some season items on, I believe, there, and some of the Codex of Power that I have on my character is seasonal. This guy right here, the Skeleton Mages, is a seasonal item. You unlock that by completing Chapter 4, which I've done already. And the Shadow Blight one you unlock by completing Chapter 3. So both of those are on the build. So play the season, you'll get cool stuff, helpful. I'm enjoying the season, I think it's a lot of fun. Again, the scythe is kind of visual, but also gives me that corpse right off the bat. Everyone's pretty much going vulnerable. There's my rusty metal key. That was quick. And you can kind of run through and melt through it pretty quickly here. We'll do some auto damage. That guy basically exploded a whole bunch of my health, so I would probably do a lot of damage.
I need more time.
see. We have a malignant heart here. And I'll just stand here and basically swing this, so as soon as he appears, that quick. I mean, you just melt through bosses, enemies like that, as long as you're, you know, ready for it. Traveling to the upper ward here. I tried to go head to head with the butcher, came pretty close, ran out of potions, he killed me. I had him down to 1 cube left. Very unhappy with that. You can also attack from a distance, which is nice. Sever is a very versatile skill. Again, you see I'm actually having to play, so it's not one of those things where, you know, I call it an AutoBomb, but that's basically secondary, build crowd control. Just kind of makes it, you know, a little more manageable. You don't have to worry about upkeeping your skeletons. We're just looking for the Animus carriers here. There's one. There's one. Alright. Alright. That's elixirs here. We'll go up Paragon Point in a second. I'll go up. There you are. A little bit more. Alright, there's my door. A little bit more Animus. I missed it. Go back, backtrack. What's up? You can see my Decrepify aura is active there. There you all, my old pals. Another one. Now, with that perspective, one of the butcher, I said his name. Should be one more down here. There you are. Nope, nope. One more. It's a cool map design. Oh, let's go ahead and run this quick fence thing. I watched the cartoon Arbot animations on YouTube. Particular dungeon events and how people always run out of time to it's pretty accurate. Cool thing is the fact that that one is only in this year yet. So typically do it pretty fast. There, we achieved it. We just gotta kill the rest of them. So I don't know if they nerfed it, so it's easier to do it now, but I did struggle, especially with some of my other builds doing those. Had a meteor build sorcerer, and we all know that I'm kind of really resourceful in this game. Hopefully the upcoming patch we're supposed to drop is going to fix that.
Thank you, AutoBomb.
Yes, give me a chest.
I'd be dead. I think I can manage from here. Please, take this.
Yeah. Nothing special. No, gotta focus. So yeah, I don't really use focuses for this particular build, but I'm using a two-handed weapon. Alright, so we got everything we need for our chest. Let's go unlock the door and finish this particular map. Oh, somewhere there was a shrine base. I didn't see it anywhere though. We're not going to fiddle with that. Alright, maybe we are. I mean, it is like literally right there. The cool thing is like, you know, you don't have to wait when the enemies can stop and pick up stuff. Because your skeletons will distract them. I like you like artillery shrine. Alright. Well, my shrine's going to wear off before I get to the car. That's okay. There we are. Resurrected Malice. Let's see how quickly we can take this guy out. So yeah, as you can see, melted through that guy pretty fast. Again, I don't have a skill calculator. I'm not a, you know, Diablo savant. The build's fun. It's viable. I like to think I'm going to be able to carry this through the end of the game if I min-max and get some good Paragon boards. Maybe I'll drop a second video to show where I'm at, you know, when I reach level like 80. I hope you enjoyed the video.
My
See,
bags.
the loot we picked up there is a pair of pants. Let's go ahead and see what those pants are. Everybody likes to see.
My bags of food.
Alright. So, loot tax. 21% damage. Injured crowd control, blah blah blah. Bone Storm consumes 8 corpses to improve its duration. That's fun. Sacred Pants. That's a Blood Mist for a different build. Alright. And then we can upgrade our control there to level 8. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed my AutoBomb Lord Commander build. And, going back to town here. If you have any feedback, please offer it up. If you think there's things that I did poorly that I could do to improve the build without sacrificing the fun and playability, feel free to add in. Like I said, we're here to help each other. Brownie, say goodbye to everybody. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye. Bye-bye.